Hey, Michael,
Hi, Jason.
how's it going?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
I just got off work eating a Dairy Queen Blizzard, and so, well, actually, I ate dinner. Had time to eat dinner, but now I'm best part dessert.
Nice.
I figured you'd like that. So, what's new?
Everything, dude. It's a new day. Everything.
Yeah, when you moving out to California?
When you experiencing things new every day, everything's new. I don't know. I'm going out for a meeting on the 18th to check out the whole prospect of things.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna fly out there and see what's what.
18th of this month, huh?
Next week, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's coming up.
I'm gonna fly out there and assess the situation.
There you go.
Shit, I don't think my sister has internet.
That's a bummer.
I don't think she does. Forgot about that. Damn it. 24, 31st.
Wait, Zoom on the phone.
Which one's going to 3 stations?
Hi,
Hey, Portia, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Jason?
Good. Ate dinner. Now I'm eating a big Blizzard.
You're so lucky.
Yeah. Until I get on the stage. Can Amber get on the Zoom on her phone?
That's what I was text her. I know she had to work, so there she is.
Yeah. She's here.
Yeah, there she is.
Hi guys, sorry I just got out of work and I'm not feeling great, but I'm here.
All good.
Going around this area big time. So when you come out here, Michael, you better stay away from people. It's bad.
I lean into it, dude.
Yes.
I drank out of
Yeah,
the garden hose that never got rolled up for 40 years out of my lawn, dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've been sick in like 3 years. I
Wow,
totally
you're
skipped
sick.
Corona. Yeah.
I get tired. I get sick.
Go drink out of the garden hose like your brother.
Rub some dirt on it.
Yep.
Best way.
Do a couple minutes here. I think we keep losing Lauren to late nights. She keeps falling asleep on us before we start.
Well, I can understand that. Good things at 6 o'clock, because if it was another 3 hours
Yeah.
in bed, I'm surprised you guys are up.
What do you mean you're not going to change your schedule for a group? Get
I
a new
would.
job, dude.
I fall asleep early.
It's never too late to get another job, bro.
Yeah.
Priorities, you got to set them straight.
I hear you.
Man, anybody get to watch the message this week on at Zoe, that a guest speaker? I know Portia watched it. Rich's Pastor Rich Wilkerson Jr. is a really good friend of Chad's at Zoe, and he had him as a guest to do all their services all last Sunday. He's one of the first guys, to tell you the truth. The first time I ever went to Zoe in person in LA, when I first started hanging out with those guys, was I went to their conference, their big yearly conference, and Rich, it's the first time I ever experienced Rich and was around him. He spoke at that conference on a message that I listened to weekly still today called Know Your Circle. He's just a really good speaker. But his message this
Really
week,
crazy background, hasn't he?
uh,
I feel like he came up really poor and like this crazy story. I feel like his mom died early, or I don't know if that's the same guy, but
no, he grew up in the church too, and his dad started a operation in Miami, moving from Western. No, I'm thinking of somebody else, but anyway, he's just a good speaker. Always has been. I was blessed enough to be around him quite a bit in the past 3 or 4 years, and he speaks really well. He has a really good. It's very similar in church status as Zoe, but in Miami, kind of started like the same type of community. But anyway, he was there all Sunday talking, and he was talking about a book he wrote. I just kept a message. I know we do Real Raw Flawed every other week, but this particular message that he talked about was like a home run hit on literally what's on my heart and my mind lately. And the fact that it was him, again, because I told you I listen to this one message from him all the time still 4 years later. It hit all the buttons, and it hit me in the heart. And I wanted to use that kind of as a topic to kick off on this week. I know we usually do the church stuff every other week, but I think it was a super powerful message. And it's about a book he wrote just recently called Single and Secure. But as you may or may not know, the guy's been married for 15 years, and he was in a relationship with his wife for even longer than that. Many years before that, they met when they were very young. So when you read the title like Single and Secure, like what does this guy know about being single? And I thought what was pretty amazing about the message was that it really had nothing to do with what it sounds like. It had more to do with that he started out the message saying that we're all individuals. We come into this world as individuals, and we leave this world as individuals. Just because we pair up in relationships somewhere in between doesn't mean that we have to be secure in being single, and that is our power. So such a great message. I thought was, not only that I've been single, whatever, you could say majority of my life or whatever it is, but that part of it, like being secure in that, I think has a whole message in itself of can you live by yourself and be okay with yourself? I think it's an important question that anybody should ask themselves. Do you find people to be in relationships that you lean on, or that you are trying to be someone for, or you're trying to help fix what they have or they're missing or their piece? My opinion, I think that's true for a lot of us. I think we search out a partner in what's lacking in us or what we think is lacking in them for us to fill a void before we go ahead and take care of all of our voids, before we go ahead and take care of all our insides and what's important to us, before we become secure in being single as an individual, before we become an individual, even most of the times. I think probably most of the times in everybody's life, on this thing or not, can remember a time very young age that you're already trying to be in a relationship or have a boyfriend or girlfriend, or the thoughts or those ideas were very young, middle school or even
Same situation.
people. Huh?
Yep. Yeah. You don't be by yourself and you hurry and then it don't work. I've been there and been divorced, and I was only married for 6 months.
Right.
And
what is the idea behind that? Why? You know what I mean?
I didn't want to be by myself.
Right. But why?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Right. So
I wish I would have listened to everybody. And I was like, I can make it work. I can make it work. And it didn't.
Well, I think the biggest point of his book and the message was exactly what you just said. I'm glad you said that. That is not your fault, Jason. We are what we learned. And that's it. We are what we learned. So he calls it soft power. So like suggestion, media, constant cues in your life, teachings of parents. Whereas hard power would be like the police or the military or the government or absolutes, right? That we all know we have fear or not from. But soft power is more of these suggestions, things that happen constantly in our life over and over until you think that way. And that's what it is. That's cueing of parenting environment growing up. And then before you know it, you think you should be married by 20 and then have a house, then the kids are next and have a safe job and build your 401k and have enough money for them to go to school. And you have an order to your life before you even knew you started your life.
Yeah.
And that's nobody's fault besides the fact that I don't think we do a good job as a community, if you will, helping each other understand the importance of being an individual, being single, being on our own, being in our own space and being very confident and comfortable. Like if I lived on my own, I can take care of myself fully. I'm not scared of paying the rent. I'm not scared of taking the garbage out. I'm not scared of this or that, or the things that I thought that were a role of another sex, or I thought were my partner's job. But that I'm capable of doing all of that. So when somebody comes into my life, now two of us are very capable of doing life, right? That we don't rely on each other and push on each other and form this resentment towards each other because we thought that it was something it's not, which is a fantasy, right? It's not our vision board. You just put your hand up, you just cloud out there.
Yeah, I got something to say, Michael.
Go
Just
ahead.
like me, she works a lot, I work a lot, and she grew up, and I grew up this pretty much the same way, but her dad was killed when she was 4. And so her mom never remarried. So it was because, you know, her mom was committed. Well, it's right or wrong, but that's what she was committed to her dad. And I'll tell you what, Michael, and like my wife says, this morning we got into it a little bit, but like she said, no matter what, we're going to be there for each other. If there's going to be hard times, there's going to be bad times, and you will not leave mad, or I'll chase you down at work and I'll go in front of all the guys, you know, because I'll tell you what, Michael, I shouldn't say it, but her mom and dad got in an argument before he went to work. And guess what? He didn't come home. He was cutting a tree and a widowmaker got him. And my wife learned from that. And she goes, anytime you go to sleep, anytime you leave, and everybody on here needs to listen. And this morning, she stopped me, and I'm glad she did. You know, it's marriage is 50-50. I have my days, she has her days, and you got to make it work. And sometimes it's like, my gosh, I don't want to do this, but we're here for each other.
Yeah, that's a great, excellent point. That's the point, right?
I'm quiet.
It's to show up as an individual, have all the strengths, and the other person be able to show up as an individual, all their strengths. So you can warn each other, show each other, or tell each other the whole nine. And I think you'd probably agree, Jason, but I think that takes a lot of time to work on, right? Like it takes a lot of time where you have to, like, in a marriage, spend a lot of years to learn each other instead of the idea of coming into a marriage already have learned the ability to judge each other.
I guess I said I was done talking, but I'm going to say it, Michael.
My wife, that's why I mute you. Hold on. Go ahead.
Like my wife said, she goes, I spent 25 years of training you. Why would I want to go someplace else and train somebody else? You know, it took 25 years to get you, you know, that's the way her mind thinks. And that's the way we all need to think.
Bro.
And
she's too invested.
She told me that. She told me that this morning because honestly, that's what married couples do. You get in a little fight, honestly, argument, whatever. Well, we were arguing and I was heading to work. She told me, she goes, I spent 25 years training you. No, I'm not a dog. I didn't say that, but anyway, no. But she said, I spent 25 years. Why would I want to train somebody else?
You probably,
but anyway, I just had to say that. So,
all right.
Anyway, I should.
No.
I spent 25 years training her.
You got to move your phone.
But anyway, that's it.
Move your phone. All right, Amber.
Hey, Jason, that's awesome. I love that. And I just, God bless you for lasting 25 years with any one person. It's a big deal. It's hard every day in, day out. It has nothing to do with love at all. Love is great. And, we have so much love in all of our hearts, especially the kind of people we are here at this Connect group and things. And, love's not an issue. If it was all on love, man, everything would be perfect. But there's a lot of other day-to-day variables and all the other things that you have to fight through, and you have to see the long game and what's on the end of it. And so I just love that. And I think that's the sweetest thing. But the other part is that she really learned at a young age to value, look, I don't want to feel that ever again. And I just don't, please don't ever, ever, ever leave without knowing that I love you. And what a sweet and wonderful token. For myself, I wanted to say on the subject matter tonight, which I love, it's great. I love all the ins and outs of it. I was also married and divorced to a kind of a high school sweetheart and a great person. I still think he's a great person to this day. Everybody loves him no matter where he goes, but we personally hit a ceiling and didn't have the same core values and just some different things, that created an impasse. And it wasn't, what we expected or what we wanted for ourselves, but it's what happened. And in the 8 to 10 years to follow that, since I was probably like, I don't know, between 32 and 34, maybe, I think I moved out of the house that we had together after we had this, surf life and Hawaii and travel and rock star life and band and music and work and all that. And we got a house in PA and settled down. And when we got rid of the house, when we ended our marriage, I went out because my dogs have helped me make every single decision in my life. I ended up at this place that would allow my dogs, and it had a pond and all this acreage and this wonderful family. And for the next 11 years, I literally had to chop wood for my heat and carry water. Like, I had to literally learn how to take care of myself. Some winter nights I would come home by myself and I would have to sit in my winter jacket with my hat and gloves on until I could get the fire warm enough to warm my own house so that I could just eat some dinner and go to bed and do it all over again. And, not always in those moments, but more often than not, I was really humbled and grateful. And now more than ever, when I look back at those years, those were some of the absolute best years of my life. And it's really because I really had to completely and totally rely on me, but without fear for the first time. It wasn't an emergency. It was where I was, So I love the subject matter.
That's a good point. I mean, you don't know what you're capable of doing until you're pushed there. I think we again, we touch this subject a lot, right? Like what we've learned in our lives and as adults. And I think later in life that we have to find out things that we wish you knew earlier on. And I think what I gathered most from this thing is like, I had a lot of great conversations yesterday and even today about like putting the value on the individual. Like what he was saying was, being secure in your singular, like being able to do all those things before you get to the point of going through a marriage and a divorce and having to be forced to live on your own, having to do the things Amber discussed, or I've been married and divorced and having to see it from the other side. But how do we get way ahead of it for our next generation? We've passed it. Okay. I get that. But what about the next generation? Are we going to teach the same? Are we going to cue the same things? Are we going to let these soft powers be the same things? The messaging, he brought up movies a lot. When you look at movies, what are they all messaging us? So they talk about Disney movies. What are they always saying? What's the story always telling you? There's always the savior, the princess, and the woman needs to be rescued, and the hero. And then in shows, what does the dad character look like? What does the mom character like? What are they depicting the world for us in front of us? What are we learning from our parents? What are we seeing and learning? How are we going to change that for the next generation so that they don't have to have this conversation when they're older going, yeah, I learned that when I was 40 after my second marriage. No, it should be way before that. We should be queuing this stuff up. The soft power stuff should be queued up early on in school. Why aren't we talking about relationships in school? Why aren't we talking about what it's like to be with a partner? Why aren't we, just like in churches and religions, they like force you to go to these pre-Cana things. which I'm going to say out loud because this is my show now, it's bullshit, in my opinion. It's complete bullshit. Why aren't they doing like, hey, you guys are getting engaged? Cool. You can't get married until you do 6 weeks or 8 weeks of couples therapy. Post, right? Pre-marriage. And then we'll say, you guys are ready to be married, or you should get married, or you're good for each other, or any
Now,
kind of professional opinion.
Ironically, if you're Catholic, you have to do that, but that's
No, that's not it though. That's pre-cana to prove that you're good enough in the Catholic Church. You're a Catholic, period. That has nothing to do with your relationship. That's why I'm saying it's bullshit. That appeases the Catholic Church under their eyes that you're married, that you can get married under them. I'm saying true mental health shit. Like, you want to be in a relationship? Perfect. By the way, your health insurance, if you have it, covers 3 months of, you have to be engaged, therapy. That's not a hard thing to think about. And I'm getting off a little off topic there, but like, these are the kind of soft power suggestions we need to start implementing in people that are younger than us and that listen to us or have around us, or our children, so they don't just witness the things we did and go, oh, well, you know, you have to go through it to know it. You have to go through it to then learn. Well, that's not fair. I mean, you know, do you want to be 40, 50, 60 going, yeah, no, we know now, you know, we look at each other now, we know now, but it's, dude, we don't need to wait that long. You know, and the point of the whole message is like the security in our singularity, right? Like, we secure our houses, we put security cameras up and systems and all this stuff. And he talks a lot about like, why do we even do that, right? Because the things on the inside are valuable. That's why we're putting security systems up, because the things on the inside of our house are valuable. Well, what about the inside of us? You know, all the things that are inside of us that God has already given to us, our creativity and our personalities and our ability to love and our skills and our souls and everything that we are to the people that love us. Why aren't we protecting that shit? Why aren't we setting up electric fences around that shit? Why are we letting intruders in? Why are we just letting whoever wants to show up at the house just roll up on in? We're not protecting anything that's ours, that is good to us. So, you know, instead of putting up the security system, which we can do, next thing you know, we got the enemy showing up at the door, right? And next thing you know, we got a burglar showing up, unwanted strangers coming at unwanted times, right? And this is the point. They attack when they know you're weak. They attack, they come for you when they know you're weak. And if they see that there's no security system, they're coming to your house. If there's 10 on the street, they'll have security and in the window or all this stuff, and yours doesn't, guess whose house they're showing up at? Right? Lowest hanging fruit. They're going to come to you because they know you're weak. They know you're not protecting what's valuable to you. So why aren't we doing that for ourselves? You know, why aren't we taking the things that are most important to us, protecting it, instead of just trying to go find somebody to fill our void and then giving up those things? You know, no price to entry at all. Just come on in, you know, whatever's mine's yours. And then be totally shocked when they pillage your house when you're at work. One day they get sick of you and take everything you had. And I'm not talking your personal things. I'm talking about everything that you've been given to you. So you feel stripped of all the skills that you had and the hope that you had and the love that you had and the soul that you had, all those things. And then you feel like a broken person. You know, why is that? These are all things that we have control over. And I think it has to happen early. We have to set standards for ourselves. We have to set these standards and let us be the most protected first, so that the person that comes in our lives knows it. It's not about putting up walls. I'm not saying that. That's not healthy. I'm saying let them see that you give a shit about what's important to you, so that they act differently around you. So you don't have to weed out people that shouldn't be around you. They're going to see it. It's going to be weeded already. They're going to see you. They're going to see that you have respect for yourself and that you care about the things that you are and what you become. And we attract like people. That's why we're all in this thing. Right? It's gotta be the same relationship. It's gotta happen earlier. You know, we should be having these things. I wish I had this thing when I was 16. You know what I mean? Like, I know Zoom wasn't around, but I wish I had these groups when I was 16. And we were talking like this, like real shit, giving us real weapons to go into life with. So I didn't have to be 41 and be like, well, yeah, I know now. That's great. I mean, it is great. It is a great feeling. Don't get me wrong. It's good to know at some point. I'm just saying, we have the weapons early, right? So I think, you know, there was a passage he mentioned, Portia might know what it was, but he talked about somewhere in the Bible talking about we are a particular people. And, you know, we're an odd people. They say in the Bible, we're a particular set of people. And I thought this was really good because I think this way a lot. Pastor Rich said that if we are an odd people, why aren't we acting like that? Why aren't we doing marriage in an odd way? Why aren't we doing breakups in an odd way? Why aren't we doing relationships in an odd way? Why are we taking the cues and getting in line to do the same thing as the person in front of us? Because that's what we're doing. We're just sheeping it, man. We're freaking getting herded right into a funnel. A bunch of us are in the field and you guys herding us right into the same tunnel. This is how old you are. Find somebody, marry somebody, get a house, get a kids, get your insurance, do this, get your 401k. Everybody's in line. They're just keep waiting for their turn to go through that same exact slot. But that's not why we were designed. We weren't designed that way. We were designed as these odd people, these different and odd people, different in the way we look. Look at the features we all have. Nobody looks the same. There's a reason for that. We're different people. We're not supposed to follow the same guidelines all the time. And then be so numb to it, we see the same outcomes and nobody cares to change it. Who's raising their hand to change it? Somebody's got to do it. We got to do it. You know, he starts with the values of what we have and the vision we have instead of this fantasy shit that we always play out in our head. Like the fantasy is always the stories that are told to us, the movies and the ideas and what is fantasy? Like it's this image of all the things I think I want, this perfect world. And well, that's not what it is. That's not how you get goals accomplished. That's not how you do in business. For sure. I mean, you can read a million books, I'll tell you that. In business, you got to set a vision, you got to set a mission statement, and you got to ride or die by it. And that's how you win in business. It's very simple. You come off that, you lose. We got to do that same shit in relationship. We got to have a relationship. We got to set a standard for ourselves. We got to protect our own hearts, protect our own individuality, our insides first. What's inside is the most valuable. That has to be secure. So I can find somebody else that's running the same program, that has the same mission statement, that wants to run hard with me. Not that it's broken on the side of the highway and I feel like, well, I got my shit together. Let me pull over for 10 years and see if I can fix their car. Oh, I couldn't. Well, that was a waste of fucking time. That's what's happening. That's literally what's happening. It's like, I feel like I get together and it's like, well, I'll go over here and fix this. And 20 years later, wake up and you're divorced and you're like, well, trying to figure things out. Why are we doing that to ourselves? Because we're living in a fantasy world. We live in a fantasy world now. There's so much more available to us to be in fantasy world too. Everything's a fantasy. You pick up your phone and 90% of the shit that comes across your screen is fantasy. It's not real. Nobody's telling you the truth. Nobody's telling you about their real life or what they're going through, their happiness or sadnesses. It's all a little bit of fantasy. So we have to have more vision and plan so we can get through to the purpose, right? And you know, fantasy lies to us like a mother. It just does. It's just not truthful, and it gives us this false hope, and it's not true. We gotta stop going after people who need to be rescued and go after the people that have their shit together and are solid and by pattern, right? Proof by pattern. Look at their patterns. It's easy to do in hindsight. I love this because it's easy to meet somebody and like, oh, I like this person, you hang out with them, and then whatever, break up or you don't talk to them. And you look backwards and you go, oh yeah, that's obvious. Right? It's obvious to us after because we look back and we look at it as a piece of work, the pattern of it shines through, like, oh, that's what they do, or that's how that person is. It's a pattern, but we're not doing that. We're in it because love is crazy. Love is part of fantasy. That's why we do dumbass shit. That's why that's the first 3 months statistic is all the goo goo gaga and like, oh my God, you wouldn't understand. You don't know. Like, when you remember you used to tell your parents, you just don't get it. We're in love. And your parents who are our age now are like, oh, I don't get it. From a second divorce, like, I get it. It's bullshit. But you can't tell somebody that when they're dead in the middle of it. You can't tell somebody that it's not real. Because when that fantasy is deep in your head, it's not just the word love, it's fantasy, it's pornography, all this stuff that falls in it. It's like when it's in your head, you believe that that is it. Like it's the real thing. And it's not, it's a lie, right? And I think the biggest pullout for me was this whole idea of like single and secure. It's truly like we're all single, even if we're in a relationship currently or married right now. We are all individuals. We were created that way. We were put in the world by ourselves individually, and we're going to leave the same way. That means we have to protect that the most. We have to protect that the most. And if you protect that the most, guess what? Anybody around you, including your partner or your wife or your husband, is going to get that love too. So you have to worry about like, oh, I don't want to be selfish. I got to give to my partner. No, if you were like that, believe me, they're getting all of you. If your number one interest and value in your life is you and all the things you're great at, believe me, the person standing next to you is getting it from you. It's when we build these small insecurities and identity issues, that becomes a real freaking issue for us. Like, this is a great one. He says, this is a great one of us. He says, if you knew your worth, you'd stop giving people discounts. And he goes to one step further. He goes, if you knew your worth, you'd stop giving discounts, and you'd even add tax. Not only will you be charging people for what you're worth, you'd add tax to it. Stop giving away for discounts. I love that, he said, because it's true. We do it all the time. We give our best of us away for nothing. For nothing. For a slashed price at Walmart. It's stupid. When you know your worth, you got to put the number on it. People believe you're worth something when you put it on there. I'm going to tell you a story. I never tell stories about really anybody I've done in life. This is important because this one really fucked in my head a little bit. The first time I ever met Michael Jordan, I was going to teach him golf. We got done. I taught him for a whole morning. It was going to determine whether I taught him again ever again or never see him again. That's how he tells you. His handler tells you that. I taught him for 3 hours that morning. Guy comes back and says he wants to see you again in the afternoon. Okay. And he wants to see you the next day. So that's me getting the green light to that. I will be teaching him indefinitely until he says no. He asked me how much my hourly was. At the time it was 200. So I said 200. Well, I must have taught this. I've taught this guy for 3.5 years. Never gave me a tip, never gave me extra money. Won tournaments because of me. I was coaching him through tournaments, all his tournaments every year, whooping everybody's butt because of me, verbally told me, never gave me a penny more than I asked for. And you know what he told me one day? He goes, I asked you the first day how much you were worth. You told me. Why would I give you more money? It's simple. The truth. I could have said 10,000. He would have made a decision in his head. And maybe he would have paid me. Or he wouldn't have. But the point was, I told him what I was worth. So that's where he drew the line. Why should he define my worth? And that's what we're doing in relationships. That could have been my wife. I told her what I thought I was worth because I don't have my worth together yet. Right? I didn't spend the time on me to know that I'm worth everything. I'm worth all of it. you don't have enough. But I think I'm only worth a couple bucks. That's what I'm worth. Well, why would I expect her to treat me any different? But if I think I'm invaluable, like there's not enough insurance coverage for me, there's not enough renter's insurance, like you can't cover this. You can't put a value on this. I'm priceless. And I walk that walk and I truly feel that and admit it, the person standing next to me is going to know it. And they're going to come up to it. Right. So I think this whole idea of this singular thing is rocked me this week. And it's super important because one, on the other side of it, I've had to spend a lot of time myself and learn that. That's a whole nother thing, right? Like in a lifetime of relying on people being around you and then being in the silence of yourself, that's a challenge in its own. That's not the message he was preaching, but there's two messages here for me. And it's both. It is being able to be in your own space by yourself, good with yourself, proud of yourself, happy with yourself, happy in your silence, happy in the thoughts in your head. Because that gets you to the place we just had the whole message about. So I think it was a massive, I mean, if you haven't seen a bunch of his stuff, look him up. He has a bunch of good messages, but those two impacted me huge. And when I met him and fast forward to now, when he came back for the first time, he's been there since I met him at Zoe. And that's the message he delivered. So I thought it was important to go off that because it was just on my heart. It's important. I think it's a huge message. I don't think we think about that once we get in a relationship. I think we think about how do we make us better? Like if we're having issues, how do we make us better? Hit the button there.
There, you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
I'll tell you what, you hit the nail right on the head tonight. I'll tell you that. Sometimes you need to hear stuff. I'll tell you that. And I'll tell you, you missed your calling. I'll tell you.
Not yet, dude.
I'll tell you, you're good.
I'm still taking swings. I didn't miss it yet.
Well, I'll tell you, you're pretty darn good.
I appreciate that, man. I mean,
Makes you think.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't own any of this information. You know, I always want everybody to know that too. Like things that, I don't ever really write much down before these things is because I want it to come to me. And most of the time when it comes to me, it gets triggered by somebody else smarter than me. And it's because I pay attention, I listen, and I want to hear it. And I want to listen to books and podcasts and videos and messages and sermons. And I try to take as much as I can to have these moments more often because none of this is mine. Just like none of what we have is ours. It's been given to us by somebody greater than us before us. And all of it's been given to them by the dude.
Well, just like this morning, me and my wife got into it, but you know what? You're there. That's the reason you say I do. And you're there. There's reasons in the past you had to do different, but you know when you got the right one, and she knows when you got the right one, and you're not going to let each other go. But sometimes you have your moments, and I'll tell you what, it makes you think. And sometimes you need that message sometimes.
Yeah, I think we need it as much as possible, right? I think that we constantly remind ourselves what we have makes a huge difference. He said it. You can account this. I've been married. Amber is married. He said somewhere in the message about this whole idea of what we're told that we should be doing, getting married, even like we should get the next step in our lives. And he says the marriage doesn't, it's not going to get rid of the problems you already had as an individual. It's just going to magnify it. It's going to put a shiny ring on the problem. It's going to allow people to see it more. Like they always say that, money just makes you more of who you are. So if you're an asshole poor, you're just a bigger asshole rich. So these things don't save you. God saves you. These things don't save you.
Then sometimes, Michael, you go probably like you, I went into my first one thinking, okay, I'll take care of her. She went back into drugs and everything else, and everything went south from there. But in your mind, I'll take care of you. No, it don't work that way sometimes. And you just gotta say, I did the best I could do.
Right.
So that's
And
all you
again,
can do.
it's not our fault and our responsibility. And that's the one thing that is hard for humans to, it's hard to detach from that. When you care about someone or even something, it's hard just to be like, F it. Because there's empathy involved in human nature, and there is, but there's also the look, if it can't start here, you can't grow anything. You just can't. And you know, when I think about the time we put into anything else, if we were to pay to go to college and get certified in the craft we want to do for a career, or I'm going to go to mechanic school to be a specialized diesel engine mechanic. You think you like show up, pay all that money, and they skip all the important parts? No, you're getting all of it, and then there's application. Then you got to go to a fucking job and intern. Then you got to be good at it. Why don't we do any of that for the most important things in life? Marriage, family, parenting. No, that's all left to like, oh, figure it out, bro. Insist. Like, who is stepping up and protecting the family, the community, the unity? Who's stepping up? Nobody. You know why? Because nobody's monetized it yet. So maybe we should start a business monetizing community, and we'll just charge $40,000 a semester to go to it. People take it seriously, because once we put value on it, it becomes valuable, doesn't it?
Then another thing too, besides marriage, you see all these older people, like not like my dad or nothing, but you know, older than that, 80, 90 years old, their other half's gone and there ain't no one around. They need someone to step up, and it's kind of like a marriage thing to help them. I see that a lot, and it makes you think.
Right. Cues, man. How do we all know how to take care of each other if nobody's showing us? Right? Like, look, our parents and their parents and their parents only did the best they could possibly do it with what they had, information or learning or lessons or faith or anything. There's no system for parenting. There's no system for relationships. Where's that? Today, there's more than there ever has been. There's these coupling, counseling, marriage, planning, all that stuff, but they're also like very expensive because they know there's not a lot of it. That's what capitalism is. And I respect that, but we need more of it. We need more people to step up so that we can bring that number down so it's attainable for everybody. So it's not $200 an hour. It's not $400 a session, where the people that need it most can't afford it. It's not just for the rich. It's for every single human being that wants to get in a serious relationship with another human being. They need help navigating it. Right?
Yep.
We got to step up. So, you know, us talking about it's one thing, but like stepping up for each other in our community and being like, or this one like blows my mind out. We had this conversation with Whitney the other day. It's like, how about when you're like, oh, I'm getting engaged, that anybody, like your parents, don't just be like, okay, because it's just, oh, you're getting engaged, great. How about like a serious, are you sure? Is this really good for you? Is this person really good for you? Any of your friends? Nobody does that to anybody. Everybody just hears wedding and everybody's like, yo, when is it? You know what I mean? It's like nobody is asking real, serious, hard questions to protect the sanctity of relationship, marriage, parenting, and the rest of your life. Literally, the rest of your life. Because as you know, Jason, having kids, when is it your turn again?
Yeah.
When the kids are old enough to take care of themselves, you can start to turn back on yourself, right? It's a long time, man. And if you weren't doing it early, that means you have a lot of catching up to do.
And then like me and my wife talked about, right now, we're in a different stage of life. My kids are gone all the time working or whatever. And you're constantly learning. I mean, because me and my wife, we were around our kids all the time, carrying them. And then we had to go to their sports stuff, or then we had to go fishing with them or whatnot, you want to do all this stuff with them. And all of a sudden, let's go riding. Oh, Dad, I'm got to work. Dad, I'm in my truck today, or I'm going to a friend's house. And then you got to learn a whole different scenario.
Mhm.
And that's where me and my wife are at right now.
Yeah,
And we're learning.
that's good. I like that mic drop by Jason. Straight mic drop. Just drop now and just exited.
He's
Go ahead.
gone.
Go ahead, Portia.
I would love this message. I was like, really spoke to me too. Like I really felt it was perfect, but because I feel like I've spent so much time really dedicating and investing in myself to be a secure human, and like we've talked about this before, like, really knowing and putting ourselves in these situations of like, I know that I'll be able to handle what is brought to me because we've been through situations where we didn't maybe know how to handle something, right? And I know in my own life, like I never want to go through that again. And so like, to me, I think this message was so important because we like when we go out into life and we walk into a room, I know I've had this conversation with you before, Michael, like what we see is not what someone else sees. Like we're gonna leave that experience because we have that awareness. And we see so many people living in the insecurity of life, and like playing out those patterns. So I think, for me, like secure means to trust. Like you trust yourself and you trust yourself to know that who you are, what is right for you. And, you like you truly know who you are, you know how valuable you are, and you're coming from a place of this energy of abundance, right? And you're coming from this place of when you don't know your worth, you're coming from a place of scarcity or lack, and that's like coming from the ego, right? And so when we have the confidence, we have courage, and we have peace within ourselves, that creates our security. And I trust that I will be able to use my voice when needed in an appropriate way. I'll be able to set the boundaries when needed, and I'll be able to have the values and the standards for myself that I know to be good for me and like what I want to create and what's my vision for my life. And so like to be able to get secure, just like we talked about, it's when we're only able to get into the stillness and the silence, and we're able to cut ourselves off from the distractions of the world. And so like Rich had said, like when we're living in insecurity, that's when we get so thirsty, right? Because that's when we're living in the ego, and the ego doesn't like to have silence or stillness. And so you would have to be able to overcome your ego in order to be able to become secure, right? If that makes sense.
Mhm.
That's the way I see it anyway. And so when you're insecure, you get thirsty for a temporary fix to a bigger problem because you still haven't done anything here. And when you lack vision, and when you don't have vision, you lack direction, right? And so if I don't know my value, what am I going to entertain? What am I going to give my attention to? Because attention from someone or something doesn't mean good intention, right? It's just, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't mean investment in you. It doesn't mean value. It simply means attention. And that attention could be gone tomorrow. And so when people don't value themselves, it's much easier to fall into living like the rest of the world, like Rich had said. And so like, you'll give your energy and your attention away to people who don't value you because they don't value themselves, right? Because you can't give to someone else what you don't already have in yourself. And so if they don't value themselves, how could they ever value and invest in you? And so I saw this on such an emotional level, like because so many people are walking around emotionally broken, they're emotionally empty, right? And so when their cup, someone is coming to you and they have this empty cup emotionally, sure, physically the need might get met, but they'll never be able to fulfill someone emotionally because they're not emotionally fulfilled themselves, right? And so they won't have the energy to invest in you because they haven't invested in themselves. And so it's like, we always talk about it. Essentially, it's the patterns again. And we living in that program and repeating this program or this pattern, and it goes back to the level of awareness or consciousness, right? And we know that not everyone is going to be on the same level of consciousness as us on the journey, right? And just like you had said, it's finding someone who matches the vision of like this is what I'm going to do, and you're okay with what I'm doing, and I'm okay with what you're doing, right? And so a secure person isn't filling the voids because they're able to be so present and focus in themselves that they'll be able to be present and focus in you. And then so they're secure, like their emotions, they're able to get quiet and silent and know that what their emotions truly are. And then setting the ego aside. And therefore, like if two secure people, they'll fill each other up because they will both get their needs met by each other because they're coming in full already. So they're already overfilled with what they need. So they don't necessarily, they have what they need, and then they have so much more to give because they already have what they need in themselves, and they already know what their awareness is. They already have the value and worth around it. So I think like a secure person is not only secure in themselves, they're secure in their partner too, and whoever they choose that to be.
Yeah, that's a good, that's good points. What you said about the intention is the other thing I wanted to add to that, because it's important, what you said. Giving attention or receiving attention. Oftentimes attention is a short-term solution to
Right.
a situation that you want filled, and it becomes a distraction to what's actually the truth. So sometimes attention is hot air. It's full of nothing. And we want it because we want it. So Amber, before you say something, I want to say last two things. One I heard from him, the other one I wanted to bring up. So one was that we buy, I'm sorry, just because we project security, like we show that we have it. He used the analogy of putting the beware of dog sign out in your yard, but not having a dog, like to try to scare people.
Right, projection, yeah.
So just we project security, or we walk around and we project it off us. And it's the same with these other things. I shared early on in my days of projecting happiness when I wasn't. But just because we project security doesn't mean that we possess it.
Yes.
Okay. We don't always possess it because we project it. And that you could take that word out of security, you could fill a bunch of different words in there. That sentence rings true to a bunch of different words. So just because you project it doesn't mean you possess it. And the other thing was, insecurity is not due to the lack of the value. It's the inability to recognize our worth. Right. So insecurity isn't due to your lack of value. Like, you are valuable. God has put you that way.
Yes.
It is our inability to recognize it in ourselves. So those two things are huge points to me. It stuck out huge. Amber, did you raise your hand, or did you?
I was just high-fiving. I was high-fiving because I love what Portia said. Attention is not intention, and it's very fleeting, like money or cash or anything. It's here today, gone tomorrow. It's not the same thing. Necessarily sustainable. And also I wondered when she was talking about the statistics, like I think the underlying belief that I have, and I don't know why a lot of humans would have this, and I'd be really interested like on the anthropological study of like tribes where they value relationships and families more so, like two-person relationships, and having a primary and whatnot, rather than like the culture that we're living in now, like here to lead or change the world or whatever, the new services as we evolve as humans. But I'd really love to know, like statistically, like how many people are full before they meet someone. I mean, really, truly, like how many people are actually full already? Like, and would that take a whole lifetime? And so therefore, should no one really ever be with anyone? Is anyone fully ever responsible enough? Like, no. Obviously Chad or someone like that, but he would probably admittedly say, he wasn't ready either, even though he had a very different journey than like you and I, Mike, or whatever. But yeah, I just wonder like how many people actually think they're full enough to like bring it to the table, like fully, and they're not broken in any way. Cause I don't know if
I'll just tell you what Chad would respond to that, because we've had this conversation. And then I'll let Portia share. He said it in a way that it's not about being, because I think what I'm hearing you say, and I think I agree, is, are we ever really full without the experience of life? And the answer is no, because we haven't experienced all of our life yet. And how he answers it is, it's about being as full as you can be up to the point that you are. And then again, being full as you can be up to the point that you are. So really, say in your teens, your cup is 68% full, but that's the fullest you could be at that age without the experience you're going to have. Then it becomes, so he always would say in this conversation that we're trying to bring it to its peak, the ceiling at the time, right? Maybe we're just born in a 12-ounce cup, and by the time we're our age, we're in a 32-ounce cup, and then it's a 64-ounce cup, and we're just
Yeah.
kind of, we're filling that because we have more room for more experience, but don't stop filling it. So like, I totally
Right.
get what you were saying though, because it's like, well, how can you be prepared fully at 18 to be what you should be, what we feel like where we're at
You
right
you
now?
wouldn't be. Haven't
wouldn't be.
experienced life.
Wait, Portia, but like not just that, but like at any age, 18, 20, 30, 40, whatever it is, but also, and what are the
I think
statistics
you have to
on,
trust
what are the
yourself.
statistics on meeting another person that is also full? I mean, I meet people
Yeah.
all around. I know, but I mean, I've lived all over the country. I've met all different kinds of people at many, many levels of success and life and knowledge and age and experience and diversity and all those things. And very rarely have I met anyone that was full. Now, maybe I perceived a handful of them as such. I don't know if they describe themselves as such, but God, it's really, when you put it like that, it seems like no one would ever really truly connect with anyone long term.
It's levels though, Amber.
Well-
Think about your level of who you are. This is a compliment on both you or I's. If you're at a area of awareness, self-awareness or awareness in the world, you're at a smaller percentile of meeting somebody at your level of fullness, meaning your cup. But
Yeah,
in
it-
generalities of people, look, there's a lot of people that are not ever going to be aware at a high
Right.
level, and that's okay. The point is meeting the person that's met your match or your energy at the time.
Right.
Commitment. It's a commitment.
Yeah. But like you traveling the world in your enlightenment, I'm going to tell you right now, it's like becoming number one in the world in golf. It's half of a 0.5% to become pro, and then even less than that to become the top 10 in the world. So
Right.
the better you are, the harder it is
Right.
to find somebody to match you.
right.
Yeah.
It takes more commitment. It takes more time. It takes more
Right.
wide open eyes. It takes
Well, you have more value. You have more worth.
Yeah, you're worth more. Your job's sought after.
Right.
You're looking for the boss that's going to pay you $1 million a minute, not
Right.
25,000 a year,
Right.
right? And I think
Right.
that's why it's harder for. I literally just having this conversation. Like sometimes I feel like I want to have some days where I don't know anything. Like
Yeah.
I want to be 25,000 value on some days, and that's not to say like I don't feel privileged every day
Right.
where my head's at, but
Of
some days
course,
I'm
the
like,
more
you
you
know,
know,
what,
the harder
I
it
wouldn't mind
is.
feeling right there in the middle of it all, sheep-like and getting herded and just told what to do. Like I just wake up and just
What you
pushed in the
believe,
direction,
you
man.
see.
Yeah, like
you
wake up,
see.
you just get pushed in the direction while all the rest, everybody's doing a group.
Yeah.
We're all doing the same thing. It's like we're all doing it, man. How the
Yeah.
fuck I wasn't. You know what I
Those
mean?
were the days.
But like now
Yeah.
it's like we know, we're very aware. We talk about these things every Monday, all our conversations, everything we share with each other. The more we do this, the harder it gets because it's like we're becoming better versions of ourselves. And now
Well, because we're
now-
growing further away from the actual
yeah.
world.
And we just gotta find more people in our community and grow
Yeah.
this and keep inviting people and not just to this, but to this conversation.
And I will just say on a final note, as far as my own just thoughts on this, and I just absolutely love the conversation tonight, was that like we do discuss in many conversations amongst all of us, is that I have seen the proof in that. Obviously, as I've raised my vibration, I continue to meet greater and better, more high vibing people throughout my life, obviously. And then when I was, reeling or miserable or in blame or in ego or in childlike ways, everything was miserable and everyone was miserable. So So I'm almost answering like my own question, that I have seen that. And so, if I like the people around me more, again, then it's good news for us, right? If we like the people around us more often. So
Can I just say something? I wanted to just clarify on I liked how you brought up, Amber, like, you know, no one is ever essentially going to be full. And I wanted to give an example of, for me, how I see fullness in my mind of like, if I show up in a partnership or a relationship. And so like, if I'm in a committed relationship and I'm married and my partner is in a breakdown moment or has some added stress going on, because life will always happen, right? I know I'm secure enough in myself to know that I can still put all my trust in him to communicate what he needs, if he needs anything in that moment. And I'm also able to trust that he will continue to take care of our needs and what we have together. And it's really like me knowing that I'm secure enough to respond to the situation and not react to it, and work with him through it, not against him, because two secure people will always be playing on the same team. And it's really like about finding the solution that works best for the team, creating the vision. And I know like Rich had talked about that. It's in like the frustration that you get to create the vision, right? So it's knowing that when I'm secure in myself, I'm holding and creating a safe space for my partner to be secure in himself, and that he can trust himself to know what to do in that moment, and that I trust that he will get us through that circumstance. And so like security is knowing that if we don't see eye to eye, like we said, that we will create a different vision out of the frustration from the circumstances from that for our future, so it doesn't get repeated again. And so like being secure, like you had said, it always has to start within you, but our foundation, like we said, is always going to be God first. And then when you're secure in you, you can share it with someone else, knowing like your experiences aren't determined, your experiences are determined by your faith, right? And so like I think that like when you said like too, like what, we're never going to be healed, right? We're always going to be students of this earth school. We just talked about that the other week on here. And so like security doesn't mean you have your life all together. Sometimes life gets messy, and that's okay, right? It doesn't mean you have it all figured out. It doesn't mean you're completely healed. And it's always going to be like, we're going to continue to heal. And it means you're committed to your growth, and you're committed to change. You're committed to being called out on what you need to strengthen. And you're committed to working together on, like we said, that same team. And like you said, you're committed to a better version of yourself, not only for yourself, but for your partner and the people around you. And like, it's essentially, like we had said, it's essentially it's like essentially you having the courage and the vulnerability to walk naked. It all comes back down to that. And like, know that like, that's when we live our best lives, when we're able to let it all out, because the truth is what sets us free.
Yeah, criminals have security systems too, by the way. So that's why I made it clear, like you said, security is not because you're well and you have it all figured out. It's just
Right.
protecting what you have. And you know what? Criminals have fucking security systems too. So it literally, just because we have the security system or building it, protecting ourselves does not mean we are done working on ourselves. You got to keep on building the inside. You got to make sure that, you know, you had a single bed and it was hard as a rock and you can't sleep, that one day you're going to build and be able to afford a nice bed so you can sleep better at night.
Yeah, I have a good point.
Security, so
I have a good point. Like,
no, you don't.
how many?
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Listen,
No, you do not.
how many times have we heard, and they've talked about this in the church, that people will get into relationship and then they'll stop trying.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And so then they're no longer committed to the vision that they said. So that's just like you had said, that criminals have security systems too.
That's right.
Same difference.
Well, and also like the business plan analogy, it's like you gotta make the money every day. You gotta make the emotional, fill the emotional bank every day. And you know, it's gotta sustain and be long term, and you have to be just as committed as if you are to pay your rent.
Yeah. I think that's, look, if we ever got smart enough and we decided we want to invest the money into actually putting on courses, like this would be part of the curriculum. It's like, what, you know, when people get together, they buy that, they do other things that are stupid financially because we're told we have to rush into it. But look, they have all these bills now that pay for their wedding and their ring, which is ridiculous. And
yeah, what if you had to pay rent in a relationship? And you do kind of, but nobody can hold you accountable because anybody can leave at any time. But
you're paying in your energy and your time.
Well, hold
Right,
on.
which
So-
is so much
so
more
what if you
valuable.
what if you got evicted? What if you got eviction notice? What if you
Right.
became delinquent and your credit got dinged, your emotional credit?
Right,
I mean, all the
Right.
things that are like,
Spiritual bank account.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson says you gotta, you know, rent's due every day and you gotta pay
Right.
the fuck up.
It never stops.
And that's the point of a relationship with any human being. It's rent's due every fucking day and you
Right.
gotta
Right.
pay up. And that's
right.
how hard life really is. It's an everyday commitment to pay the rent of each day that's owed.
Yeah,
So,
I could
look.
go out any day of the week and panhandle a few dollars to pay
shit.
my bills if I had to, but guess
Money's
what?
paper.
I can't
Money's
fake,
paper.
I can't
The
fake
the
loving.
emotional bank account.
Yeah, I can't fake the emotional part. I can't
No.
fake if I'm mad at you. I can't fake if my heart is broken. I can't fake
You
any of
can't
that.
earn
Like,
$100,000 emotional points because you freaking shut up for 8 hours. at
Right.
a physical
Right.
job that you hated,
Right,
by
right.
the
You
way.
can't just
You
put a
hated.
smile on your face.
Yeah, you can go to a job every day you hate and make $100,000 cash, but you can't pick
You
up
can still
any.
be empty
Exactly.
inside. Yeah.
So you guys get the curriculum together. I'll teach it. How about that? Okay, go, break. You write the
Okay.
curriculum. All right, I love you guys. I gotta go. I feel like shit. Speaking
All
of
right,
shit,
love you.
Amber,
Love
hope you
y'all.
feel better.
All right,
I'll talk
great
tomorrow.
chat.
you too.
All right. Bye.
Love y'all. Good night.